What if I told you that during World War II, a U.S. Navy ship disappeared not just from sight, but from reality itself? Imagine a secret so powerful, so terrifying, that it could bend time and space, making an entire warship vanish in the blink of an eye. This isn't a science fiction plot. It's the chilling story of the Philadelphia experiment, an event wrapped in conspiracy, government cover-ups, and a mystery that refuses to die. What really happened on that fateful day in 1943? The truth might be far more unsettling than you ever imagined. In the shadowy depths of World War II, when the world teetered on the edge of chaos, a chilling rumor began to circulate. It was whispered among sailors, echoed through the corridors of military bases, and eventually captured the imagination of conspiracy theorists for decades to come. This was the tale of the Philadelphia experiment, a supposed top-secret military project that aimed to unlock the unthinkable, the power of invisibility. But this was no ordinary cloak-and-dagger operation. If the rumors were to be believed, the experiment went far beyond merely making a ship vanish from radar. It involved bending the very fabric of space and time. The year was 1943, a time when the Allies were desperate for any technological edge that could turn the tide of war. Submarines lurked beneath the waves, threatening supply lines and decimating fleets. In response, the U.S. Navy explored unconventional ideas, pushing the boundaries of physics and human comprehension. What could be more useful than a ship that could simply disappear from the enemy's sight, slip through the ocean undetected, and reappear miles away? At the heart of this enigma was the USS Eldridge, a newly commissioned destroyer escort. It wasn't the largest or most powerful vessel in the fleet, but according to legend, it was destined to play a role in one of the most controversial military experiments ever conducted. Word had it that the U.S. Navy, under the guise of Project Rainbow, was preparing to make the Eldridge vanish using a secret combination of electromagnetic fields and cutting-edge science. But as with any tale that tiptoes along the line of reality and fiction, there were unanswered questions. If the Philadelphia experiment really did take place, why had it been shrouded in such deep secrecy? What really happened on the docks that day in October 1943? And how did a simple warship become a vessel of intrigue, disappearing not only from radar but, allegedly, from time itself? The rumors didn't just stop with whispers. They grew louder, more insistent, and more incredible as they spread. The experiment, they said, was a success, but at a terrifying cost. Strange lights, disoriented sailors, men fused into the metal of the ship itself. These were the horrors that were supposedly witnessed. As the mystery grew, so did the fear that the U.S. Navy had unleashed something they couldn't control. And thus, the legend of the Philadelphia experiment was born. A chilling blend of science, ambition, and disaster. It was a story that would be retold countless times, leaving a trail of speculation in its wake. But was it all just a clever hoax, or was there some truth buried beneath the layers of mystery? In the coming chapters, we'll delve deeper into the terrifying events that are said to have transpired on that fateful day, uncovering the secrets that have captivated and haunted those who dare to explore the unknown. At the heart of one of the most perplexing mysteries of the 20th century stands the USS Eldridge, a ship that would soon be shrouded in secrecy, speculation, and fear. The Eldridge, a destroyer escort built during World War II, was designed to protect Allied convoys from the constant threat of enemy submarines. Sleek, fast, and equipped with cutting-edge technology, it became a symbol of American naval power. But its missions, at least the official ones, were standard: patrolling, escorting, and guarding. Yet, whispers began to circulate among sailors and officers. This ship, they said, was not like any other. Something about the Eldridge seemed off. The crew, normally bound by camaraderie, became tight-lipped, hesitant to speak about their time on board. Some claimed that strange experiments were being conducted on the vessel, tests that involved technologies far beyond anything previously imagined. These weren't just routine military drills, they were playing with the very fabric of reality. And while the world was focused on the raging war, in the shadows, a new kind of battle was brewing. A battle to unlock the unseen, to wield forces that, if unleashed, could change the course of history. The ship's official missions were kept confidential, but rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the Eldridge had been chosen for a secret project so dangerous and ambitious that even the crew had no idea what they were about to face. The sailors who boarded her would soon become part of a legend that blurred the line between science and the supernatural. And as the Eldridge left port on what seemed to be another routine mission, no one could have imagined that it was sailing into the unknown, toward an experiment that would echo through time. As the shadowy veil surrounding the USS Eldridge thickened, the rumors that circulated became even more extraordinary. The most captivating, and perhaps most alarming, was the theory that the U.S. Navy was attempting to make the ship entirely invisible, not just to radar systems, but to the naked eye. This wasn't just about evading enemy detection. This was about pushing the limits of science into territories that, until then, had only existed in the most daring realms of science fiction. Desperation had gripped the military, and with World War II at its height, the stakes could not have been higher. The seas were ruled by German U-boats, invisible predators that could strike without warning. The Navy needed an answer, and according to the rumors, the USS Eldridge was at the heart of a secret project that sought to turn science into magic. At the core of this experiment was the concept of invisibility. But this was not your typical cloaking technology. The Navy supposedly aimed to make the Eldridge disappear by creating a powerful electromagnetic field that would bend light around the ship. In theory, this manipulation of light and energy would make the ship vanish from both radar and visual detection, as if it had been swallowed by the sea itself. This optical invisibility, as it was called, was more than just science. It was a step into the unknown, something that had never been attempted before. And with such bold innovation came a great deal of risk. The technology that made this possible was said to involve the generation of a massive electromagnetic field around the Eldridge, strong enough to alter the very fabric of space around it. Early descriptions of the project speak of massive Tesla coils being used, their arcs of electricity dancing menacingly as they powered the field. For the crew aboard, the air would have been alive with an unsettling energy, an almost tangible charge that hinted at the unknown forces at play. Those few scientists who understood the depth of what they were attempting knew that this wasn't just about evading enemy radar, it was about rewriting the rules of physics. Even more astonishing were the whispered claims that the experiment was rooted in Albert Einstein's elusive unified field theory, a theory that attempted to reconcile the seemingly incompatible forces of gravity and electromagnetism. While Einstein himself denied any involvement with the project, rumors persisted that his groundbreaking work laid the foundation for what was happening aboard the Eldridge. Could the greatest scientific mind of the century have indirectly fueled one of the most mysterious experiments in history? Some believed that Einstein's work provided the key to controlling these electromagnetic fields, allowing the military to manipulate the physical world in ways never before imagined. Whether or not this was true, the very mention of Einstein added a level of credibility to the rumors that made them impossible to ignore. The buzz around the experiment grew louder and more sinister. While the idea of a ship disappearing from sight was thrilling, the stories of what actually happened during the experiment were far more disturbing. Those few who claimed to have witnessed the event described a horrifying scene, a scene where the boundaries of space and time had been blurred. According to some, when the electromagnetic field was activated, the USS Eldridge did indeed vanish, but not in the way anyone had anticipated. Some said the ship reappeared miles away, in an entirely different location. Others claimed it vanished completely, reappearing only after an excruciating period of time. The most chilling rumors were those that detailed the fate of the crew. As the story goes, when the ship reappeared, some of the sailors had been fused into the very steel of the ship's hull, their bodies grotesquely melded with the metal as if they had been caught between dimensions. Other crew members were said to have gone mad, driven insane by the unimaginable forces they had experienced. These whispers of horror made it clear that the experiment had achieved far more than mere invisibility. It had opened a door to something far darker and more dangerous than anyone could have foreseen. Theories about what truly happened to the USS Eldridge abound, but one thing remained certain. Whatever took place that day forever blurred the line between science and the supernatural. What began as an experiment in invisibility turned into a chilling cautionary tale about the dangers of meddling with forces beyond human comprehension. And yet, for some, the possibility that the U.S. military could have unlocked such power is a tantalizing mystery that continues to captivate and terrify in equal measure. October 28, 1943, started like any other day at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. But as the afternoon wore on, the atmosphere shifted, charged with a mix of excitement and dread. Tension rippled through the ranks, particularly among the scientists and military officials who gathered near the USS Eldridge, a ship that would soon become the center of one of the most controversial military experiments in history. With all preparations complete, the countdown began. When the experiment finally commenced, what followed defied all expectations and would haunt the memories of those present. As the generators roared to life, a strange green fog began to coil around the Eldridge, seemingly drawn from thin air. The mist thickened into a glowing, unnatural cloud, engulfing the entire vessel. Then, with a sudden flash of light and a loud crack like thunder, the ship vanished, disappearing completely from view. The waters churned where the ship had once been, as if the very fabric of reality had been torn apart. Onlookers stood frozen in disbelief. What had just happened? Had the U.S. military successfully rendered a warship invisible, or was something far stranger at play? Reports that surfaced afterward painted a picture of sheer horror. Some claimed that the USS Eldridge didn't just vanish, it teleported, reappearing briefly in Norfolk, Virginia, nearly 200 miles away, before returning to Philadelphia within minutes. Others spoke of the ship being caught in a time warp, disappearing not just from space, but from time itself. When the Eldridge finally reappeared at the shipyard, the sight was nothing short of a nightmare. Crew members were reportedly found fused into the steel of the ship's hull, their bodies grotesquely melded with the machinery. Some men were driven to madness, their minds shattered by whatever they had experienced during the experiment. Conflicting testimonies muddied the waters. Some claimed the experiment was a massive success, a breakthrough in military technology, while others dismissed the entire event as a hoax or an exaggerated tale. But one thing was certain: whatever happened on that October day sent shockwaves through the military and scientific communities. The line between fact and fiction blurred, leaving a legacy of unanswered questions, eerie rumors, and fear of the unknown. What truly transpired aboard the USS Eldridge? Was it a leap into the future of warfare or a horrifying experiment that spiraled out of control? The experiment had supposedly reached its conclusion, but the true horror was just beginning. After disappearing from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in a flash of green light, rumors suggest the USS Eldridge didn't just vanish into thin air, it reappeared almost instantly hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia. What made this event even more unsettling was the time it took for this alleged reappearance. Just a few minutes, far too short a span for any ship to travel such a distance by conventional means. Witnesses at the Norfolk docks were said to have been astonished as the Eldridge materialized out of nowhere, seemingly out of thin air, sparking confusion and disbelief. As the ship docked, it quickly became clear that something had gone terribly wrong. According to the most shocking and terrifying accounts, several crew members were found in nightmarish conditions. Some had become physically fused to the metal walls and decks of the ship. Limbs, torsos, and even faces were supposedly melded with the ship's steel structure, as if man and machine had become one during the brief period of disappearance. This grotesque sight shook anyone who witnessed it to their core, giving birth to a legend that would haunt military folklore for decades. Other sailors, though physically unharmed, reportedly experienced terrifying psychological aftereffects. Many were disoriented, unable to recall what had happened during the experiment. Their memories were fragmented, and some were said to have developed severe amnesia, unable to even remember their own names. Even worse were the alleged accounts of crew members losing their sanity. Some were said to have developed acute paranoia, hearing voices and seeing figures that weren't there. Others slipped into full-blown psychosis, muttering incoherently about worlds beyond comprehension, as if they had seen things that no human mind was meant to witness. This chilling aftermath created a sense of profound mystery and horror surrounding the experiment. The crew of the USS Eldridge had become victims of forces they couldn't begin to understand, leaving the rest of the world to question what exactly had transpired during those fateful moments. Was this the result of advanced technology gone horribly wrong? Or had they tapped into something far darker, something beyond the limits of human knowledge? Whatever the truth, the reappearance of the Eldridge marked the beginning of a string of strange and unexplainable phenomena that would forever remain etched in the annals of military legend. The incident left military officials scrambling to cover up the details, but the story of the ship's mysterious vanishing and shocking reappearance spread like wildfire, with rumors of crewmen disappearing, dematerializing, or even phasing in and out of reality long after the experiment had supposedly ended. Whether myth, manipulation, or truth, one thing was certain: whatever had happened aboard the USS Eldridge, it left a scar on the minds of those involved, a scar that would never fully heal. The stories surrounding the Philadelphia experiment didn't stop with the reappearance of the USS Eldridge. Instead, what followed was a torrent of speculation, conspiracy theories, and what many believed to be one of the largest government cover-ups in U.S. history. Soon after rumors of the ship's disappearance and reappearance spread, attention shifted to the U.S. government and the Navy, which quickly denied any involvement in such experiments. However, what seemed like a simple denial turned into something far more complex. Conflicting reports, missing documents, and the growing sense that something was being hidden from the public. The first red flag for many theorists was the absence of detailed records about the experiment. While the USS Eldridge was a real ship, official documents regarding its mission or any tests involving it seemed to have mysteriously disappeared. Supposedly, any mention of the Philadelphia experiment in official archives had been erased or never existed, fueling suspicions of a government conspiracy. The U.S. Navy swiftly denied any attempts to make the ship invisible, claiming that such technologies were impossible to develop at the time. But for believers, this response was only the tip of the iceberg. Numerous accounts began to surface from individuals claiming to be connected to the project or having insider knowledge. Ex-Navy crew members, scientists, and even civilians began to assert that they knew of something massive being covered up. Amidst this, rumors circulated that certain crucial documents related to the project had vanished, disappearing as mysteriously as the ship itself. What remained were fragments of information, dubious statements, and an atmosphere of secrecy and distrust that enveloped the U.S. government. One of the most popular theories was that the government had entered into a pact with leading scientists, including names like Albert Einstein, to conduct experiments that defied the laws of physics. Einstein, with his unified field theory, was frequently mentioned as a key figure in the project, despite no concrete evidence of his involvement. Other prominent scientists were also speculated to be secret collaborators in ultra-classified military projects. According to believers, this cover-up was necessary to protect technologies that could change the course of the war and humanity's future. As decades passed, the lack of concrete evidence was attributed to an active disinformation campaign. The idea that the government planted false stories, fueled contradictory rumors, and distorted witness accounts to confuse the public and hide the truth became a dominant theory. According to this narrative, any attempts at investigation were swiftly stifled, and witnesses who might have provided critical information were discredited or disappeared. At the heart of these theories is the belief that the government went beyond simple denial. Many believe that they created layers of misinformation to confuse the public, discredit witnesses, and conceal the true extent of what happened on that fateful day in 1943. And so, the Philadelphia experiment entered history as one of the greatest mysteries of the modern era, shrouded in a veil of suspicion, theories, and unanswered questions that linger to this day. In the vast web of conspiracies surrounding the Philadelphia experiment, one name stands out more than any other: Carlos Miguel Allende. A shadowy figure whose identity remains wrapped in mystery, Allende's involvement would bring the story of the USS Eldridge into the public eye and fuel decades of speculation. His role was not that of an eyewitness on the front lines, but rather a whistleblower who claimed to hold critical knowledge about the event, information that no one else dared to reveal. But who was this man, and why did he take it upon himself to blow the whistle on what he insisted was a secret of monumental proportions? Carlos Allende, whose real name was supposedly Carl Allen, first introduced himself into the narrative by sending a series of cryptic, handwritten letters to an author named Morris Cabe Jessup. Jessup had recently published a book on unidentified flying objects and had drawn some attention from both enthusiasts and skeptics of the paranormal. However, it was Allende's letters that captured Jessup's attention, for they contained shocking claims about government experiments that went far beyond UFO sightings. Allende claimed to have witnessed firsthand the events surrounding the Philadelphia experiment and spoke of unnatural phenomena that defied the laws of physics. His writings were filled with strange references to invisibility, teleportation, and a ship that had vanished and reappeared in another location within moments. As the letters poured in, Jessup became increasingly intrigued and disturbed by the possibility that Allende might be telling the truth. According to Allende, the USS Eldridge had not only disappeared, but some of the crew members were subjected to horrific side effects. Men trapped in the ship's metal framework, others vanishing into thin air, and some reduced to madness from the sheer terror of what they had experienced. Allende's descriptions were vivid and alarming, painting a picture of an experiment gone horribly wrong, and he claimed that all of this had been covered up by the U.S. government. The more Allende wrote, the more Jessup became convinced that he was dealing with someone who either had access to classified information or was an expert at fabricating an extraordinary story. However, the sheer detail in Allende's letters, and the confidence with which he made his claims, suggested that there might be some grain of truth beneath the layers of intrigue. His letters described advanced technologies and scientific principles that were not widely understood at the time, and he hinted that prominent figures in the scientific community, perhaps even Einstein himself, were involved in the experiment. This only deepened the mystery and raised more questions than answers. Despite the dubious nature of Allende's claims, his correspondence became a critical piece in the puzzle of the Philadelphia experiment. For many, he was a crucial whistleblower, a lone voice attempting to expose a dark secret hidden by military and governmental authorities. But others saw him as a charlatan, someone who had created an elaborate hoax to gain attention and manipulate those eager to believe in conspiracies. His credibility was constantly under scrutiny, especially since he never provided definitive proof of his claims, only more questions and riddles. Yet, regardless of whether Carlos Miguel Allende was telling the truth or not, his letters to Jessup became one of the most significant sources of information about the Philadelphia experiment. It was Allende's cryptic words that would ignite the imaginations of many, keeping the legend alive for decades to come. His influence on the story is undeniable, and without him, it is possible that the tale of the disappearing ship might have faded into obscurity. But with Allende's letters, the Philadelphia experiment took on a life of its own, becoming a touchstone for conspiracy theorists and paranormal investigators alike. As we explore the story further, we must ask, was Carlos Miguel Allende a genuine whistleblower who risked everything to expose a shocking truth, or was he simply a clever storyteller who knew how to craft a compelling narrative? Whatever the answer, his contribution to the mystery is undeniable, and his letters remain an essential chapter in the saga of the Philadelphia experiment. The heart of the Philadelphia experiment's myth lies in its supposed scientific foundation, the unified field theory. This theory, widely debated and still unfinished in the scientific world, was thought to be a breakthrough that could merge all the fundamental forces of nature, electromagnetic, gravitational, and more, into one cohesive explanation of the universe. The idea was revolutionary, with its roots going back to none other than Albert Einstein. While Einstein himself was reportedly working on this theory, there is no concrete evidence that he was directly involved in any military experiment, let alone one that aimed to make a warship disappear. Yet, the story persisted that his work laid the groundwork for the Philadelphia experiment, specifically the manipulation of electromagnetic fields to bend light and alter the space-time fabric. According to the legend, the unified field theory could make invisibility possible by distorting the very reality around an object, causing it to vanish from both sight and radar. The purported use of high-voltage electrical generators on the USS Eldridge was linked to this theory, allegedly creating an intense electromagnetic field capable of bending light and even space-time itself. The result? The ship didn't just become invisible. It traveled through time and space, according to some interpretations. However, scientific scrutiny soon debunked these claims. At the time, the unified field theory was far from complete, and even today, physicists have not achieved the kind of control over space and time that the Philadelphia experiment supposedly did. Critics have pointed out the vast technological and theoretical gaps that make such a story implausible. Yet, for conspiracy theorists and the curious-minded, this connection to Einstein and the tantalizing possibilities of manipulating spacetime continue to fuel the legend. The question remains, did the U.S. Navy tap into secrets that are still beyond modern science, or is this simply a tale born of misunderstanding and imagination? As the story of the Philadelphia experiment spread, it attracted the attention of skeptics, researchers, and even former crew members of the USS Eldridge. One of the most compelling aspects of the mystery is how little concrete evidence supports it. In fact, many of the crewmen who served aboard the USS Eldridge have publicly stated that no such experiment ever took place. These testimonies, while not as sensational as tales of disappearing ships and distorted spacetime, provide a grounded perspective that challenges the wild claims surrounding the event. During the alleged time of the experiment, the USS Eldridge was involved in regular naval operations, conducting training exercises and participating in convoy protection missions. Official Navy records show that the ship was nowhere near Philadelphia on the date of the supposed experiment. These routine exercises, combined with the highly secretive nature of military operations during World War II, may have been misunderstood or exaggerated by those seeking a more dramatic explanation for ordinary events. Moreover, natural phenomena and optical illusions have been suggested as potential sources for some of the more mysterious aspects of the story. For example, unusual weather patterns, electromagnetic interference, and light distortions over the ocean can create effects that seem otherworldly to those witnessing them. The green mist that reportedly surrounded the USS Eldridge before its disappearance could have been nothing more than a rare meteorological phenomenon or a reflection from the ocean. In a time of heightened tension and rampant wartime rumors, such anomalies would have easily fueled wild speculation. The legend of the Philadelphia experiment also likely grew from a mixture of misinterpretations, fabrications, and conspiracy theories. As more people became intrigued by the story, it evolved, taking on a life of its own. But as the facts and logical explanations began to surface, it became clear that the tale was more myth than reality. The scientific impossibilities, the lack of corroborating evidence, and the testimonies of those directly involved all point to one conclusion. The Philadelphia experiment was a fabrication built on the foundations of fear, misunderstanding, and imagination. Though the Philadelphia experiment has been thoroughly debunked by experts and naval personnel, its place in history remains as strong as ever. What started as a fringe conspiracy theory has blossomed into a modern myth, capturing the imagination of generations. Its story has been retold in countless ways, through books, documentaries, and even Hollywood films. The USS Eldridge has become more than just a wartime vessel. It is now the symbol of our deepest fears and wildest imaginations about science, government secrecy, and the limits of what is possible. Why has this myth endured? Perhaps it is because the Philadelphia experiment exists at the perfect crossroads of scientific curiosity and human fascination with the unknown. At a time when humanity was grappling with the terrifying new powers of atomic energy and groundbreaking scientific discoveries, the idea that the military might be experimenting with invisibility and teleportation seemed strangely plausible. The mystery of the USS Eldridge taps into our natural desire to push the boundaries of science and technology, even if that means stepping into the realm of the impossible. In the years since the story first emerged, it has been immortalized in popular culture. Films have dramatized the disappearance of the ship, turning it into a cinematic spectacle. Authors have woven intricate narratives around it, blending fact and fiction to create stories that seem too strange not to be true. Even today, the Philadelphia experiment is a staple of conspiracy forums and YouTube channels, where new generations rediscover the mystery and add their own theories to the mix. It's a tale that refuses to fade, constantly re-emerging with each retelling, shaped by the shifting sands of modern myth-making. What does the Philadelphia experiment teach us? At its core, it is a reminder of the powerful intersection between science and storytelling. Our minds are wired to seek meaning, even in the face of the unexplainable. Whether it's through scientific discovery or the spinning of tall tales, we yearn to uncover hidden truths, no matter how implausible they may seem. And as long as there are questions without answers, myths like the Philadelphia experiment will continue to thrive, inspiring curiosity and wonder in all who encounter them. As we close this chapter on the USS Eldridge, we're left with a sense of awe. What else might be hiding beneath the surface of history? How many other legends and mysteries await to be uncovered, waiting for someone to ask the right questions? If you've enjoyed exploring this mystery, don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling dives into history's most intriguing secrets. There's always another mystery waiting to be told.